Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Concordia University's fourth space. Thank you for joining us for the next event. It's part of Fall Open House here at Concordia. Today's event is Considering Montreal for Grad School. Insider tips from Concordia grad students. We have some graduate student ambassadors with us today. But first, to help situate you, we are streaming to YouTube. We are live from Fourth Space, and we are located here on unceded Indigenous lands in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. Here at Force-Space, we work with our university community to mobilize knowledge by co-creating daily activities that examine research questions, projects, things in development across the university. And we're running today's event as a live stream Zoom meeting. So those of you joining us on Zoom, please put any comments or questions you have into the chat, and we'll do our best to read those out during the Q&A period. Those of you here in the space also, just raise your hand and we'll bring a microphone over to you if you have any questions. Okay, it's now my pleasure to pass it over to one of our graduate student ambassadors, as well as an current MA student in film studies, Nicholas Vasilikos. Nicholas, welcome in.
So hello, everyone. My name is Nikolaos Vasilakos, and I'm a third-year MA student in the Film and Moving Image Studies program. And so thank you for being here today to this panel. And before we begin with our questions today, I will be presenting my colleagues who are present with me at this table today to answer the questions that we'll be asking today. And so let's begin with Anna right over here. Yes.
So hi everyone, thanks for coming in. I'm a grad student in biology. I'm doing my PhD currently, my first year, and I'm excited to answer your questions about Montreal.
Thank you. Welcome everyone. My name is Noble, and I'm pursuing my Master of Applied Science in Mechanical Engineering, and my research focuses in aircraft systems design. And I'm excited to help you in considering Montreal for graduate studies. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura, and I'm pursuing the PhD in Interdisciplinary Humanities here at Concordia. And I'm in the research creation stream. So part of the PhD happens through artistic production. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. So we'll begin with the questions. So feel free to chime in to answer the questions if you feel comfortable with answering them. So our first question is, how do I fund my studies? So there are various opportunities for a graduate student to receive funding here at Concordia. So we would like to know, based off of your experiences, how did you get funding here at Concordia? And what are the tips and tricks to receive some funding based off your experience?
So for the Department of Biology, we have actually different sources of funding as well. So we have internal funding and external funding. Usually for us to go in, your professor has to be willing already to pay you. So there's a minimum amount of money that you have to make. So it's guaranteed if you get into the program to receive 17.5K or more, depending on your prof. And then after you're inside the program, you can apply for external funding, like the FRQS or the FRQNT, and that gives you even more funding. So usually you start with a minimum, and it's enough to live and to fund your studies.
Yeah, I would just to add on to what Anna said. So let's say maybe you're looking into a course-based program. So these external funding could also be considered because like for a research program, then your supervisor is where you actually need a supervisor, and most of the time they'll give you some sort of funding. And then other ways that you could fund your studies is through teaching assistantships that, as a grad student, you can be a tutor or be marking courses for professors here at Concordia. I don't know if you have more to add to it.
Yeah. The FRQ is, which is the Fonds Research Quebec, is a great external funding source. So that's a provincial funding source. And I'm not sure if you need to be already living in Quebec or if you can apply before you enter the program, but that's an excellent way to augment your funding. I believe it's around 20 grand a year at the PhD level, potentially 25 grand a year, and at the master's level, I'm not exactly sure what the exact annual funding is.
I think it varies depending on the program in general too. And in terms of financing also, there's also other alternatives. From a provincial perspective, there's also l'aide financière étudiante, which is a provincial government aid from the government of Quebec that helps students going whichever program they want to go into. It could be either like from undergrad to PhD. They could receive government funding from them also. And there's also opportunities at Concordia as well, being like a teaching assistant, for example, which I am currently doing right now, which is my 4th contract since I started my MA at Concordia. So that's a good opportunity also, and it gives you lots of experience in the field of teaching also, and for someone who really wants to get into education also, which is my case, it's a good opportunity, and it's pretty good money, I'd say, from to be a TA, and it's really fun sometimes. On to our next question. So I think that's a very general question that comes up really often. It's on school fees. So I think in general, like based off the program, the fees were determined based on the program and the classes that you're selecting. But based off of your experience, so have you had any issues with school fees or whatsoever, or any concerns related to it?
I'm not sure. For myself, I haven't experienced any issues around that. Oftentimes, when you apply to a program, you might have a funding package, and then the fees will be taken out of the funding package, and then you'll receive the remainder. If you have a funding package, it differs from department to department. And at the PhD level, at a certain point in the PhD, after you're done your coursework, there's a couple of years where you don't pay tuition, but you might pay the other fees. There's also the student health plan, which a lot of students opt into because it gives you a lot of different breaks for healthcare costs. So that's one of the fees that you can pay, which is around $500 a year for the health and dental.
I think we're gonna have the same answer.
For the school fees, I'm an international student, and actually Concordia has a lot of different awards for international student fees. So they usually, when you come, you pay Quebec tuition. And I'm not too sure how many they do have, but it's quite a lot. So they really care about their international students. So like giving them the opportunity to pay like Quebec fees it's a big part of it. Also, as Laura was saying, I, for example, have an internal award and it goes to my student account. So my fees get paid by that internal award, and then I receive the difference. So I don't have to worry about the fees.
So I have a different perspective on that. And I think it's because, so already Concordia as a PhD student, when you're coming in as an international student, so there is that scholarship of like, you pay the Quebec rate, but as a master's student, it's not the case, and we have to pay like the big international fees. So that can really be a struggle actually. But then yeah, you have like the funding package, and then already like when you come in, there's entrance awards. It's different for masters and it's different for PhD. So whatever entrance award that you get from Concordia, that's like added onto your tuition, and then the rest, like you figure it out, and it's usually from like the funding package that you have. Sometimes you really need to like have a way to support yourself, like either your family or if you can, because so thesis programs are the ones where you're really getting like a funding package. You know you're coming in and you have a funding package, unless if you also have a scholarship. So yeah, I would say like international fees are a big thing, and yeah.
It can be a tad bit overwhelming, yes. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out too about the distribution of money at Concordia. So when you do have a package, it's important to note if you're especially if you're moving here from abroad, the first disbursement of your Concordia money will happen toward the end of the first month. So you really need to plan in advance for your studies to have some resources on hand while you wait for it's called the drop deadline. And after that date, then you will have your first disbursement. And I can't remember if this was covered already, but there's some other opportunities for funding on campus for graduate studies. And the School of Graduate Studies offers an amazing conference allowance. So it's up to $1,000, and it's to fund you to present your research at conferences, either abroad. There is also some funds, but lesser funds available if you want to present within Canada or the United States. And also this Graduate Students Association also has some different small grants that you apply to fund different projects.
Perfect, thank you very much. And now we're going to be talking more about your life experiences in Montreal and the biggest challenges and struggles that you've encountered so far. Right now, we're still having some warm weather out in Montreal, so we're pretty lucky, but as soon as winter hits, it can be really, really cold here in Montreal. So I wanted to get more of your experiences so far here about your challenges in terms of the weather or just how to get around in Montreal. And yeah, just open up about your own experiences so far.
So I actually came 7 years ago for my undergrad, and to be honest, the winter was a lot worse back then. It's gotten a lot better. But the first thing I would say is make sure to get a good winter coat and a good pair of boots. I didn't when I first came in because I thought, oh, I'm gonna have to spend hundreds of dollars. I just moved in. But actually, there's so many places where you can buy a cheap winter coat, or even if you're in need at the moment, just you can go to thrift stores and they have good coats for like really cheap and good boots for really cheap, and then you can like save up for something better. But there's ways to get around that, and there's ways to just get good clothing. Otherwise, I find that the most important thing is just not to feel that you have to stay at home for everything in the winter, because you really don't. Just like put on your coat, get the little motivation to get out, and then you'll have fun, you know? There's a lot of things to do. The city has a lot of events, so just get out there.
I think the weather is definitely a common struggle for a lot of people. So I did struggle with that too a lot. And like Anna said, there's a temptation to just stay indoors because you're like, okay, it's cold. Like I don't want to be outside and do things, but it really helps to go outside and do things with people, because Montreal is like very active. Like no matter season it is, there's always events for whatever season it is, and it really helps like to be out and actually participate in those. For me, another struggle, I guess, you know, as an international student, the homesickness is real. So, and then you're thinking you can't just, because I'm originally from Rwanda in Africa, it's pretty far. I can't just wake up and I'm like, okay, I'll go for a weekend. Like, you know, and something you have to plan like well in advance. So, you know, being far from family, that was like a struggle for me. So I'd say it's mainly the weather, and otherwise it's because it's a very diverse community as well. It's not very hard to get around. It's pretty bilingual if you struggle with French. because I think we'll get to that too at some point.
Yes.
But yeah, for me, that was like pretty much it.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, in my case, I grew up in Quebec for most of my life, mostly in Quebec City, but I moved in Montreal approximately 5 years ago for my undergrad. And yeah, winter can be a bit overwhelming sometimes because it can be really, really cold, but I do enjoy a good winter time sometimes because I'm an avid snowboarder. So I tend to go out for most of the time. And there's lots of, like you said, Anna, there's lots of events and opportunities to discover Montreal also. And especially during the wintertime, close to the holidays, the city is all decorated and there's lots of Christmas markets pretty much everywhere. So it's really enjoyable to kind of like explore and walk around. And even if you're a bit overwhelmed with even your studies and so on and so forth, there's lots of nice places to visit also, whether it be museums or even coffee shops. There's a plethora of places to really settle down and have enjoy a fun time. And talking about Montreal and Concordia in general, it is a very bilingual and multicultural environment, I'd say. Based off my experiences, because I grew up within an Anglophone and Greek community back home, I felt really welcome here in Montreal also to get to explore my culture in general and meet other people who have a similar background. But it's also a nice central hub for anybody around the world to come here and study because Montreal is relatively a good student city for people around the world to come here, and especially Concordia. I noticed there's a lot of people coming from all around the world. And so I wanted to know more about your experiences as international students or students that are coming from elsewhere except from Quebec, and get to more of your input in that case. And how did you find how did you settle in, and how did you find like Montreal in general as a multicultural city?
So actually, I came from Spain, a pretty small town, I would say. And it was so refreshing to come into residence and every 2 seconds meet someone from a different country. Sometimes countries that I hadn't even heard of. So that was really cool. I would say that that's one of the most beautiful things about Montreal and about this university, because it's just truly when you go to class, like it's amazing how many different stories you hear and how much you learn from them. And yeah, so that was a very big surprise for me. I would say that it really helped to have people that had gone through the same thing and that have just taken the leap and just come to another country. And that's a very good way of bonding. So I would say that most of my friends are international students because we just went through the same thing, right? And then about the locals, everybody's so nice. Like everybody's truly nice, and they're always interested in other people's backgrounds. And yeah, I would say it's a great city for that, for just meeting new people.
Yeah, kind of going back off of on like what you were saying about finding, people from, your home country. So I'm from Rwanda originally, and then I did my undergrad in the US. The city where I was, there were no Rwandans. And then I came to Montreal. I was kind of expecting the same thing. And then I'm in the metro and I hear my native language. I'm like, oh, wow, where are these people? And it's not just in the metro, I'll hear the language in the streets, I'll see those people. And that always feels like, home is close, even though I'm very far. And then my thing was always missing the food from back home. And there is a Rwandan grocery store. It's amazing. So that was usually the difficulty I had before that now I don't, which is amazing. And even because I always wanted to have spaces where I could speak my native language, and there is a way you can relate to the people from your home country. But on top of that, like Anna said, you also meet all these other people from other countries, other cultures, and you get to learn a lot. And I would say it's a really enriching, it opens your mind in your eyes to like different perspectives from all over the world. So in Concordia, like Montreal is like that, and Concordia is, exactly the same because we have people coming from everywhere. In our research groups, there are always like people from these different places. So the diversity, the multicultural sense, it's really good, and I feel like it enriches the education that we come here for. Yeah.
Thank you. I suppose I'll just add a little bit. So I'm an Anglophone Canadian, originally from Manitoba, and I moved to Montreal to start my PhD in the interdisciplinary humanities program. And unfortunately, I'm not fluent in French, though I do have conversational abilities. And I'll just add that to what other people have saying, I've found Montreal to be such a welcoming place. And people here have been really gracious in speaking English with me when I don't understand French. So I haven't had the experience that my life here is negatively impacted because I'm not fluent in French. Though, because I love Montreal so much and want to stay here, it is something that I'm interested in doing to learn French. And Concordia has different conversational groups through Grad Pro Skills, graduate professional development skills, which is another great resource. And the Quebec government also offers a language training program. I think it's currently going through some changes, but there's also opportunities to learn the language there.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
And I can also pitch in a bit with that too. I have some friends who actually grew up in Montreal and they don't even know a single word in French, which is interesting to know. But Montreal is very accommodating to everybody, and whether the culture or the language barrier, I'd say. It's very accommodating, and you can pretty much adjust to your surroundings, I'd say, and pretty much move around, whether it's in English or French. People here are very open to help you out and adjust to your language in that case too. For my case, like I'm a bilingual, so I grew up, my mother tongue is French, so I got used to speak French a lot, but then I moved to Montreal and all I'm doing right now is only speak English because I'd say it's pretty much universal, so everybody's kind of like getting used to it, I'd say, in that case. So, but it's really easy for anybody from around the world to really adjust in Montreal because it's a very big multicultural city, and you could pretty much fit in regardless of where you're from or your language in that case. And talking about adjusting to Montreal, we're going to talk about housing and public transportation. So trying to find housing in Montreal can be a bit overwhelming sometimes. I remember back when I moved to Montreal 5 years ago, it was a bit hard to find a place to settle down, and sometimes it could take a lot of time too. But eventually, in the end, we ended up finding a nice place not too far from Concordia. But I wanted to know more about your approach and how did you find housing in Montreal, and what do you find, and what about transportation in that case? Is it easier for you, or do you have like some issues with it? I wanted to know more about how your experiences in that case.
So when I moved in from Spain, I went directly into residence, and that was really helpful because I met people, and then with those people, you can just go and get an apartment. And to look for an apartment, mostly, like I used Facebook Marketplace. I don't know what you guys use for that, but I found that really helpful. To be honest, in Spain, we didn't really use Facebook. So that was new for me. But then there's so many offers on Facebook that is just like it's easy to find something that you like. But there is something that you need to do when you look for an apartment, and is make sure that like they're not, first of all, like scamming you. Make sure that it's that you talk to the landlord. And at the beginning, I didn't know how to do this, so I did go to Hojo. Hojo is one of the resources at Concordia that helps you look for, that helps you deal with apartment hunting, that helps you deal with landlords. They help you deal also with if you have any problems with landlords. So it's a great tool. I know I did have some issues in my second year with a landlord that didn't want to comply with the lease. So I did talk to them and they helped out a lot. So that was my experience, pretty much.
Yeah, you spoke of Hojo, and I remembered this other place, but it's not coming in my head. But I found it actually on the Concordia website, like regarding housing, and that's how I found my first place. And it was actually like a Concordia alumni from like way back then, and this person was like hosting pretty much like students all around Montreal. I think for the most part, Concordia. So that was the first place where I found housing. And then the other one was I did also do with Facebook Market. And, you know, on Facebook Market, there is like a lot of things you could see on there. And my one struggle with that at first is that I wasn't getting responses. Like I was messaging so many people. But I also got to understand like around the time it was like July, August. So a lot of people, like there is a lot of students coming in. So there is a lot of people trying to get housing. So that's why like there might be challenges like finding an answer. So it took some time. And then the other thing is also, you know, you look at your budget and, you know, that's where the transportation comes in. Because if you usually places that are further from Concordia are usually a little bit cheaper because, you know, here downtown, it's a little bit on the more expensive side. So my first place was actually like 45-minute commute from Concordia. And that's what I love about the public transport system here, because I can just put in Google that I want to get to Concordia at this time, and then, you know, and the buses are on time. The metro sometimes, like when there is maybe an emergency or something is happening, but most of the time it's like on time and it's regular, which is amazing. So I was so grateful that the public transport system works that way, and we get a student discount per month, which is amazing. So yeah, that's my experience so far.
That's all very thorough. I suppose I'll just add that there's different, Montreal has so many different neighborhoods, and because of the amazing public transport system, which is one of my favorite parts of Montreal. I love the metro system, and it's accessible and easy to use for the most part. So make sure to check out the different areas, because each area and each borough has something different to offer. I live in Verdun on the green line of the metro, and I love that neighborhood because it's right on the river. There's lots of green space. It's a little bit quieter. If you're wanting something more lively, you might consider the Plateau. And what's great about the Plateau is it's right by the mountain, and yeah, so you can check out the kind of environmental surroundings as well when you're choosing a place to live. And I can't recall if this was brought up too, but having a roommate can really make things a lot more affordable. So and Facebook Marketplace is again a great place to search for housing, because oftentimes people will post, hey, we're looking for a rooms opened up in our three bedroom apartment, and you'll save a lot of money if you're willing to live communally.
I just quickly want to add a little tip. Live close to a metro, because I know that you guys said that the public transport is super like reliable, but buses are not super reliable. So my struggle currently is that I study on the other campus, so at Loyola, and Loyola is not close to the metro. It's but there's the 105 and there's also the shuttle. But the 105 is always full, and sometimes the bus will pass, but it will not stop, so it won't pick me up. So yeah, it would be helpful to live next to a metro. That's one of the things that I'm looking forward to do. If not, there's always the shuttle. I used to live around downtown, but like 10-minute walk from the shuttle, which was great because the shuttle is pretty consistent. And yes, I just walk down to the shuttle and get to school.
Yeah, it is very reliable, and you can easily access it as a Concordia student, which is a free service. So you can jump on it, and it passes around every 30 minutes or so. So it goes from the library building, if I remember correctly, down to the campus of Loyola, and then back and forth. So it's very reliable if you have classes at the other campus, and it's a very easy transportation too, and it's only reserved for Concordia students. It can be a bit, like you said, jam-packed, but otherwise it's a very reliable service. And I live just down the street from here. So for me, in terms of transportation, everything is pretty much accessible. Even like close by, like I have everything that's in under my disposition. The resources that are here, even like the library or even like supermarkets that are close by. So it's really accessible, and accessing the Concordia in general, whether you're around Montreal, even like a bit further north or south, depending on where you live, it's really accessible with the metro system because it's a direct, it arrives directly at the on campus here downtown. So whether you're like on the orange line or even like the green line, you can get like direct access to the campus that way. And talking about the library in that case, since it's coming to our next question, Concordia offers lots of facilities and resources like the library like that I mentioned, or even Grad Pro skills that Laura mentioned earlier. And in my case here at Concordia, I use those resources from time to time as well. And for instance, like I tend to go work out from time to time, and Concordia offers a really great sports center here. And you can sign up for some classes, whether it be basketball or even karate whatsoever, depending on your preferences. Or you could just even work out also here. And they have really great deals for students who are studying here, and even staff and faculty also who are at Concordia. And yeah, and there's also like other services as well for your well-being and so on and so forth, especially during my time at Concordia during COVID. It was a hard time to study because we were pretty secluded. We were at home online. And so Concordia also offers like lots of initiative to help you with your mental health and so on and so forth, which is very accessible. So there's always someone to talk to. And I wanted to know if you ever use those resources in that case too, and wanted to get more input on it.
So that's actually one of my favorite things here. I actually did every single class at the recreation and athletics. I had so much fun. I tried kickboxing, I tried dance class, I tried even skating, and everything was like really cheap. So that was great. There was at some point I was doing like my undergrad, and I was really tired. I really needed to like blow off some steam. So I just signed up to everything, and it was the best decision ever. I got to meet so many people, and then the instructors were so nice. I find that at least in Spain, I didn't get that chance where like there was so many things to do. Like imagine just having like cha-cha-cha class, that it's really random, but we have it here. So I don't know. I think it's really important to just look at the website and look at all the things that you might find your new hobby.
Yeah, actually, like you said, one of my favorite things about Concordia is like the resources for the different things you would need. So for example, for me right now, I'm writing a paper, and when you're writing a paper, you need other papers to cite. And the library is great at that. You literally, if you can't find something, there is like a chat, and they're very fast at answering. And one of my friends recently told me also help you and show you how to cite the specific resource that you're trying to cite in your paper or in your thesis. So the library is amazing when it comes to like your writing, or even the articles. If you want to find papers, there is something called interlibrary loans, where if they don't have something, then they can ask for it for you from another library. The other thing that you mentioned is grad pro skills, and that I think like they teach literally everything you can think of when it comes to your graduate career, and sometimes even like beyond that, because they have some things in like project management, which is, maybe you might not be doing it in school, but it's something you could apply outside. So some of the workshops I have attended, for example, again, in line with writing, there is this new thing called LaTeX that a lot of people are using for writing. I recently attended a workshop for that because, I was like, okay, everybody's using LaTeX and they say all these things about it, but how do I learn how to do it? And they had a workshop for that. So they have different workshops to improve your professional skills and even the skills that you need to succeed in graduate school. So I think that's really amazing, and it has been very helpful for me for sure.
Thank you. I'll just add to this that there's lots of different labs to join as well. For example, I'm a member of the Feminist Media Studio, which is based in the communications department at the Loyola campus. And it's a lab where members get together and work on different projects. They have equipment for members to borrow. They bring in different speakers, lectures, and offer different workshops. And there's also the milieu, which is it's a like grouping of different, it's a graduate research center at Concordia, and it's involved with new media and different artistic production. And through Milieu, you can again connect with like-minded grad students and professors. There might be some opportunities to develop creative projects or work on research projects. So there's all these opportunities to get involved in things that might not be exactly in your program, but to connect with the broader university.
Something that I really found helpful was the Udemy membership. We actually get it from being a Concordia student. I didn't know this for the longest time, like 4 years. I could have learned so many things. But we get that for free. And that's because right now coding is so useful for everything. Like I'm trying to learn and I'm using Udemy for that. Also, in the grad skills program, there's the 3-day thesis boot camp, where I was so surprised that they offered that. Apparently you just go there, sit down, and they give you food for 3 days. Yeah, just to write your thesis. I'm like, this is amazing. You know how many times I don't eat because I'm doing something. So yeah, there's a lot of things.
Yeah, I feel that sentiment too, because sometimes when I get really deep into my studies, I tend to forget to eat also. So the boot camp is a really great initiative. If you really want to focus only on your studies and your thesis, that is a very, very good way to really push forward your studies. And there's also other resources that I used in the past with Concordia, because I come from a cinema background. So I use the VCR from time to time too, which is very great and very accessible to anybody who wants to borrow a film or even watch movies there too, because they have like some good like screening spaces there too, with like big screens and everything, and movies from pretty much any format you can imagine. It could be on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and even like those very obsolete laser discs, which is very interesting to see. And you can also borrow some film equipment also. which is really fun for film students because like they have access to a lot of resources from Concordia to really kind of like push forward their creative potential. And I've used those useful cameras in the past too, whether it be like professional cameras, DSLRs, or even like those Super 8 film cameras. Those are really, really fun to use. So there's lots of opportunities to loan like equipment also. And it's really fun to kind of like see that the Concordia students have access to all of these things. And just checking on the time really quickly, I think we have time for our final question, which is related to the cost of living. I know, Noble, you mentioned about the Rwandan supermarket earlier. So if we can get to know more about that also and how to save money in terms of like groceries, because it can be a bit expensive here in Montreal. Like in my case, there's a supermarket just down the street called Nuon Market. So I get to go there and save a lot of money and buy like lots of groceries and saving a lot of money because it could be really expensive depending on where you go, but there's a good strategic purpose to kind of like save up some money. So, and you get to discover also lots of different foods also, which is very interesting from all around the world. So in my case, like lots of Greek foods, also Chinese, or even like Portuguese stuff like a pastel de nata, which are really amazing, by the way. So what about you guys? Like, where do you go get your groceries, or where do you shop to save some money? So yeah.
So actually, Concordia has this program in the Hive where there's free breakfast and free lunch every day, like from in the downtown campus and the Loyola campus. So I do that a lot, just because I guess I do have time to do groceries, but I don't. But otherwise, when I live downtown, I know PA Supermarket has a lot of deals, and Adonis also has a lot of deals. Um, and then at Loyola, just because if I could, I would get like a Costco membership, and I would get a bunch of friends. Like usually, like if you have roommates, you can all like take a Caminoto, which is the cars of the city, and go to Costco, and you do save a lot of money. But I don't have that privilege. So I do go to the Provigo, which is a little expensive, but they do have a good point system. So if you get the points card, you do get to save up. But the Hive, the free food and free, like the free breakfast and lunch, that's a saver.
Yeah, good to know. I didn't know about that. Yeah, so for me personally, actually, like what you just finished on, the point system is amazing, and most grocery stores will have point system where you can get like discounts when you shop. The other thing also is like any grocery store. Okay, let me not say any. The ones I've been to, like Metro, IGA, those are the places that I frequent. Recently, I've also been going to Maxi, but because I'm a very, very picky eater, like I'll have things that I'll pick up at like, IGA or Metro, like vegetables and fruits. I'll usually pick them up there. And then for other things, like let's say if you say rice or pantry stuff, then I'll go to like Maxi because, they're usually the same thing in most places, but for sure, like Metro usually has every week there is sales for a particular thing that you would want. So for example, I'm vegetarian and there's like a week where for sure there's going to be discounts on vegetables or, other vegetarian foods. So for me, like that's how I have worked with it, like looking for the discounts and then having things that are buy at a certain place and then other things like at certain places. So yeah.
Yeah, all of those are definitely great suggestions. And I'll just add that there's lots of farmers markets in Montreal too. The Atwater Market and also the Jean Talon Market. And they're great places to get really fresh local Quebec produce. And I find that oftentimes you might be even paying less money than you would at a grocery store for those vegetables.
Yeah, they offer them at really good prices too, which is really fun and very good quality stuff as well too. And it's a very good initiative for if you want to really save up on money and really eat healthy. Those are the best places to go, and it's really fun to shop there also because there's lots of things that they are offering over there too, whether it's food or even like stuff that you can buy there too. So there's lots of options as well. So, all right, thank you very much for answering the questions here today. So we'll be turning to the questions from the public right now. So if you have any questions, please chime in, and we'll do our best to answer all of your questions. Yes. Just gonna
Just give you the microphone.
I'm an international student. I'm just considering applying for a graduate master's in business technology, business analysis. So I'm just wondering about the fees and how frequently you pay for the program, because I'm from Egypt, and back in Egypt we just pay everything upfront when you just apply for anything. So I hear here it's different. System is different in payments and so on. So I don't get it actually.
So yes, here at Concordia, so the fees are, you're paying them as soon as you get in. So it's not everything upfront for the whole year. So you pay one semester at a time in that case. So based off of my experience here at Concordia, so I'll be paying for the fall semester, but you have until like the end of September to pay them for that case. And then you have the winter semester also, which is like by the end of the first month of education that you have to pay also, but they're very flexible with that case too. So, but there's also like some fees that might apply too, but you can pay them as soon as you can pay them. There's lots of flexibility also, and they're very understanding. I'm not sure, like in your cases, do you have like a similar experience or?
Yeah, so I'm not sure for a master's in business analysis, you said, but so let's say, for example, for engineering, to get a master's, it's 45 credits. And how it works is you're charged for the first 4 semesters because it's 11.25 credits, I believe. So every semester until like the 45 credits are complete. So it ends up being the first 4 semesters where you're paying a huge chunk. And then in addition to the tuition, you usually have these other fees. So those are the ones that now you pay after the first 4 semesters. So it's not everything upfront. You have the huge chunk of the money going in the first 4 semesters, and then the rest is like, the compulsory fees that you have to be paying.
Also, it really depends if it's a thesis-based program or a course-based program. If it's thesis-based, usually your funding will contribute to your fees. So you will get the rest of the funding after paying the fees for each semester. And then if it's a course-based, I'm not too sure how that works, but I think it's the same thing if you have funding. But if not, it's the same, like you have to pay each semester at a time.
Exactly. Yes.
It's about thesis. Is there any groups or focus groups that train you how to write a thesis or help you with that? Because I've never done this before.
So actually, yes, Grad Pro Skills, they do have writing assistants. You can go in and they have like different times each week that you can go in and they teach you and they help you how to write. So and also your supervisor does like give you feedback and teaches you how to write your thesis. It's called Grad Pro Skills. It's just one of the services at Concordia.
You're welcome. All right, and do we have some questions online that we can answer?
If anyone has questions online, they could pop them into the chat. Laura, I know you've been answering some specific questions there already. Yeah, I had one question here from ForceSpace.
Yes.
I was just interested actually in your experiences as graduate ambassadors. What brought you to choosing to take on that role?
Yeah, well, I first started as a graduate ambassador last year because we started the program 1 year ago, and they had some ambassadors in the undergrad level, but we didn't have some in the graduate level. So we wanted to kind of like rectify that and give us some more insight for prospective students to come here at Concordia. And in the past, with my program in film and moving image studies, I was the head representative of my program. So the role that I had in my program was similar to what I'm doing right now. But what I'm doing right now is more specific and more complex in that case, because like there's much more responsibility in taking that role and helping students from all around the world to answer their questions and make them feel welcome here at Concordia. And then I opted to join in because like I felt compelled to do it because I was already doing it with my program. And so as soon as I got in, I felt that it was very fulfilling to kind of like talk to people and answer their questions and guide them through their academic journey as well. And I've met some very interesting people like doing so. And yeah, it's really fun to kind of like jump in and help them out and make them feel welcome here at Concordia.
I also agree with that. Like, it's really fun to do. But I was once a law student from like a very far away land. And it was, we didn't have the same services as now. Like, we didn't have Unibuddy where you can chat with people. Like, it was always kind of talking to the more like official people, let's say. And what I was more interested in is just having the students' experiences because I'm a student and that's what I was gonna do, right? So when I found the program, I was really impressed by it, and I really wanted to help out. And I think that like even when I started grad school and I was already like here, I had so many questions that nobody could answer. Like I did have to dig a lot and knock on doors in different labs to find the answers. And I was just thinking, well, like I can do this because I'm here, but other students that want to come from far, they don't have this opportunity. So I found it really cool and I just joined to help out.
Yeah, I share the same sentiment for sure of like always wanting to help other people. And then now, like as a grad student, I came here and I really had a great experience. But then, like Anna said, at one point I needed the support, but I didn't know who to ask. And usually, like a student, they're usually more relatable. So, so I wanted to, like give that space or be part of that where others can relate. And then my other thing, I guess it's like more personal because when I got here, especially from my program in engineering, I was asking myself, like, where are all the Africans? Like, where are they? So I thought like this would be a really good way to hopefully inspire other, people coming from Africa to join graduate studies here, especially more in like the STEM, so engineering and computer science, like that.
Thank you. For myself, yeah, I really like meeting new people, and I've had a really positive experience in my PhD program at Concordia, and it just seemed like a really great opportunity to connect with prospective students, people from all around the world, and also to meet other graduate students who are outside of my own department, which has been really great and lots of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And yeah, I kind of felt the same sentiment too when I was applying to the MA. I didn't really have anyone to turn to because I didn't really know like the process or whatsoever or who to reach out in that case. But having someone to kind of like guide you through the process and give you some insight about Concordia, it's very fulfilling in that case.
Thank you. I'm not, excuse me, I'm not seeing any questions in the Zoom currently. This is your last chance. If you want to pop some in there.
I do have a comment.
Okay, Isa.
Also for transportation, there's also Pixies and bikes. Pixie tried for the first time last year to do Pixies in the winter, where they add spikes to their bikes.
Yeah.
I am a full year winter biker, so I can say that you save a lot of money and you save a lot of time. But you do need to maintain your bike. That is the only process.
Yeah, that's the thing
But
too.
biking is also an option if you want to save time and money for your transport. Sorry?
Did the winter Dixie work?
I have my own bike, but the only thing is that I would recommend wearing a helmet. So, but I see a lot of people using also the Bixies in winter as well.
Yeah, because you never know. It can be very slippery from time to time. The number of times I fell down on the street because it was very slippery during the winter. But yeah, like in your case, like with like well-equipped bikes during the winter, it's really they're very easy to use. In that case, like a fat bike with like bigger wheels, so it's like it has more friction on the ground, so it's easier to transport. But I feel like in general, with the metro, it's very accessible from anywhere around the city.
Yeah, just to build up on the Bixie, I did find it really, really useful because you can actually take them from any place and then leave them in any place. So if I wanted to, like, let's say the bus problem, I wanted to just take the Bixie to the metro, you can always do that and then take the metro somewhere else. And also the transport communoto. So there's the cars in the city, which are the same as the bikes. You can kind of leave them anywhere as well. And that was really helpful. You can even use them to take trips on the weekends and they have different memberships. So yeah.
And it's very useful too, because you could just use your Opus card for it too. So here you go. So do you have any other questions?
I'm not seeing any questions, but I'm again saying it's the last chance to put one in. We'll read it out. It's gonna take. Okay. Go.
Okay, so this is from Sabina from the chat. I haven't heard anything regarding scholarships, funding, and fees, especially from someone from Africa who wants to do a master's degree. Can you please touch on it? So we covered this earlier on in the session, but I'm just gonna see if, because we have a few moments here, if someone's able to respond. And then also the video will be kept on YouTube after. So if you weren't able to see that part of our discussion, or if you wanted to do some follow-up there, and you can also connect with us on Unibuddy as well.
I can just jump in and mention also the discussion happened previous this afternoon or this morning. Also talked a little bit about funding as well. And so for people on Zoom, et cetera, if you visit those videos on YouTube, you can search in the transcript for words such as funding or finding an advisor, things like that. And it'll take you to those moments. And there was some good information in there also.
Just to quickly touch up on that, it really depends on either if it's thesis based or course based. It really depends also on the program. If you're unsure as well, you can always email your graduate program director, and they will let you know if they offer internal funding or other external funding opportunities that are available. So use up your contacts and.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question.
Now or never, don't be shy.
That's totally okay. Just gonna wait it out a bit.
Yeah, we can always give that one moment. You know,
Yeah.
people are thinking, should I do it? Yes, you should.
Yeah, feel free to answer. We're here for that, so we're glad to help you out.
Yeah, also feel free to chat with us in Unibuddy. We're all very eager to answer your questions. We love yapping, so just go for it.
And we're connected 24/7. Well, we try to stay connected. Yes.
This is a follow-up question around funding. My question is, when the awards are applied, will there be credit balance left and can it be collected? And this is depending on what your funding package is, but typically for at least a doctoral funding package, usually there is money remaining after your tuition and student fees are taken off. And then what you do is you request a refund online through your student portal, and it will take about a week or so, maybe 2 weeks for your check to arrive. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And that concludes our panel for today. I would like to thank my colleagues over here for being here with me today and answering all the amazing questions that we had for you today. And thank you everyone for joining us today for this panel, and have a good day.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Those of you online, thank you again for your comments, your questions. And Laura, thank you for fielding those specific questions. Victor, thanks for moderating. Noble, Anna, everyone, just great to have you in here. We're going to be closing the live stream and the Zoom right now, but just a reminder, the video and earlier today's video remain on our YouTube channel if you want to revisit them, and suggest you do so. I hope to see you all soon here at Concordia, and have a great afternoon. Okay, bye.